Let's unleash the power of formatting with numbers in Excel. So first of all, let's start off with this winnings table where we've got the name of the people that took part and how much money they won. And what we're going to do is we've got these and we want to put it in as a number. And we can do that by adding 1,000 separator with ease. So you select your numbers and you hit Control 1. Then you'll get this Format Cells dialog box. Choose your category as number and tick the Use 1,000 separator. And make sure you change your decimal places to 0, and once you're happy, hit enter or click OK. And as you see here, we've got the comma, and in the formula bar, we just have the number as it was previously. You can also remove zeros from your data set with ease as well. Now, we're going to select this first. We're going to hit Control 1. We're going to go to Custom, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the type box to make the zeros disappear. Now, as you can see here, there are lots of different custom formatting that's already in here. And as you see, there's quite a few options and they go through lots of various different items. So the first part, this which is already auto-filled in, the hash, comma, hash, hash, 0, this is positive. The first position before any semicolon in your type is looking at positive numbers. And I'm just going to copy that. And what we also need to do is we'll put in our first semicolon. Now the second part looks at negative. So we're going to put in a minus, and I'm just going to paste what we just copied of hash, comma, hash, hash, 0. Now the third part is the important one. So I'm just going to put in my second semicolon, and this third part deals with zeros. Now, if I go ahead and hit enter, you can see the zeros have now disappeared. But you can also give it just text in the 0 part, just to even say 0 or nothing, for example, and we can do that as well. So if I bring up the Format Cells window again, we can do nothing in speech marks and then hit OK. And as you see, it says nothing, but the value in the formula bar is 0. Now, if I wanted to do equals nothing plus 5, for example, you can see it now is 5. It recognizes that even though this is formatted to show nothing, it still recognizes that it is 0 in the first place. I'm going to go back to one thing which is very brief that I covered, and I'm just going to hit Control 1 again and bring up this Format Cells. So as you see, there is a hashtag, and then there is the 0. Now, the difference between these is that a hashtag is a variable placeholder. So any number, any any length of number can be there. And a 0 is a fixed placeholder. Now, the next example I'm going to show is going to demonstrate this more in depth. So I'm just going to come out of that and hit cancel. And as you see, we've got some employee codes and profits. And our employee codes are 6 digits long, or 6 characters long. And as you see, that showing 324, 32345, 9927, and they're not all showing the preceding zeros. Now, this is where fixed placeholders using the 0 really comes in handy. Now, we're just going to hit Control 1 to bring up that Format Cells window, and we're going to go to Custom. And as you see, we've got our general here, and we're just going to backspace and delete that. Now, as we mentioned, it is a 6-character employee code. So we're going to use our fixed placeholders to help create that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with putting in 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you see, the sample in the top has also changed to reflect what our format will look like. Now, if we go ahead and hit enter, you see now we have all the preceding zeros. Now, this is where it differs to variable placeholders. Now, if I go back and hit Control 1 and go to Custom, if I go and remove all these zeros and replace it with a simple hashtag and hit OK, you see we are taken back to the initial numbers we had at the beginning. And that is because hashtag is a variable placeholder. It could be a 1, could be a 7, could be a 3, could even be a 9. It doesn't matter what number it is, the variable placeholder will take that number which is given in the cell. Now, on the second half of that table, in the profit and loss column, you can see also we have some numbers that we want to demonstrate our profit and loss. So 141, 468, minus 133, and so on. What we can also do here is we can make it much more clearer what is a profit and what is a loss. And this is where we can use what we learned in the earlier part of this video. So I'm going to select all of this and hit Control 1. Then we're going to come down to Custom and we're going to remove the general type here. Now, the first part of any sort of formatting always looks at positive numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open speech marks and I'm going to write profit. And then I'm going to close that speech marks and put a space and then just hit hash. Now that hash will be the number which is already in that cell. And that is going to be our variable. Now what we need to address is also the negatives. So we're going to do semicolon and we're going to open the speech marks and type loss, close it, put a space and then a hashtag. And we're just going to hit enter, and as you can see it's got our text, but it's also just showing the number in the formula bar, which means if I was to select here at the bottom and do Alt equals, you can see we've got an overall profit of 660, for example. I'm going to show you now how you can format cells. So we're going to use the same format cells window, or we can use this bar up here in the top where it usually says general. And what we're going to do here is we're going to select the currency and we can click on here and we can select currency. On the Control 1 menu, you can also select the symbol of your currency and how many decimal places. So if it's not British pounds or dollars, for example, you can also change that. So if it was in Bitcoin, for example, you see it, we can change that and it can show it in Bitcoin. And if I click OK, you can see the Bitcoin currency logo here and the amount we've put is the same. With accounting, it's also the same. You can go to accounting and you can select your symbol from the long list. So I'm just going to choose Japanese yen for this example and click OK. You can also choose an array of currencies from here as well, and you can click the more accounting formats and get the same window. I'm going to turn it back to UK, for example. Now, as you see, we have dates here. I'm going to select them and hit Control 1, and we're going to go to date in the window. And now what you may see here is you see these two types at the top. These are related to regional dates in your location. So if you're in China, for example, and you selected the second one where it's got the full date, this would obviously then be written in Chinese, in Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever your language of choice in your local region. But as I'm in the UK, it's got my UK location, and it will select that by default. If you want it to stick to English, for example, by default, you can select one of these at the bottom, and regardless of whether you're in France, Spain, Poland, Canada, it will always show in English. And if we hit OK, we see that has been formatted. Now, as you see here, we have time. If I hit Control 1, you can see it's set with hour, minute. We can go to time and we can set it like this, or we can choose one of the other ones. I'm going to choose the PM one and hit OK. And as you see, it's got the time perfectly aligned for me, but as you see in the formula bar, it also has the date in how it was, the time, sorry, was how it was entered into the cell. Percentage is also very simple. You can select it and click the percentage in your bar, and as you see, it then reflects, and then you can adjust how many decimal points you want showing or reduce how many show. Now, as you see, we've got fractions here, so I'm just going to hit Control 1, and then we're going to go to fraction, and we can set how we want the type of fraction to be shown. So I'm going to choose as 16ths, for example, and click OK. And as you see, it converts it as close as it can in 16ths. And then obviously we have text here. If you hit Control 1 and select text, you can then change that. So these will be treated as text rather than numbers in the cell.